The United States is a nation of diverse opinions, but certain political issues have created deep divides among Americans. These debates touch on fundamental values, shaping policies, and the future of the nation. In this video, we'll explore the top 10 political issues dividing the United States, highlighting the key points of contention and the reasons these topics continue to spark heated debates across the country. Let's dive into the issues that define modern America. At number 10, we have the issue of gun control. The debate over the Second Amendment is one of the most polarizing in American politics. Advocates for stricter gun laws emphasize the need to reduce gun violence, citing mass shootings and rising firearm-related deaths as reasons for reform. On the other hand, gun rights supporters argue that the Second Amendment guarantees the right to bear arms, and that responsible gun ownership is a cornerstone of American freedom. The divide is further amplified by cultural differences, with rural areas often favoring gun rights and urban areas pushing for stricter regulations. This issue remains at the forefront of political debates, with passionate arguments on both sides. At number 9 is healthcare reform, a topic that has fueled controversy for decades. The debate centers around whether the government should play a larger role in providing healthcare or whether the free market should dictate the system. Proponents of universal healthcare believe that access to medical services is a fundamental right, pointing to systems in countries like Canada and the UK as examples. Opponents argue that government intervention stifles innovation and leads to inefficiency. The passage of the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, marked a significant shift, but the debate over its repeal and replacement has kept healthcare reform a contentious issue. At number 8, we have immigration policy, a topic that touches on national identity, security, and economic concerns. The debate often centers around border security, pathways to citizenship for undocumented immigrants, and the impact of immigration on the economy. Supporters of stricter immigration policies argue that securing borders is essential for national safety and that illegal immigration strains public resources. Advocates for more inclusive policies highlight the contributions of immigrants to the economy and emphasize the humanitarian aspect of welcoming those fleeing violence or poverty. Immigration remains a hot-button issue, with debates often reflecting broader divisions about diversity and inclusion. At number 7, we examine the divide over climate change and environmental policy. While there is a broad scientific consensus about the urgency of addressing climate change, opinions differ sharply on the best course of action. Advocates for aggressive environmental policies push for renewable energy investments, stricter regulations on emissions, and international cooperation to combat global warming. Skeptics often question the economic impact of such measures, arguing that they could harm industries like coal and oil and lead to job losses. The issue has become highly politicized, with partisan divides shaping the narrative around environmental responsibility and economic growth. At number 6, we turn to abortion rights, a deeply personal and contentious issue that divides Americans along moral, religious, and political lines. The debate intensified after the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, effectively leaving abortion laws to individual states. Pro-choice advocates argue for a woman's right to make decisions about her body, emphasizing reproductive health care and autonomy. Pro-life supporters, on the other hand, see abortion as the taking of innocent life and call for stricter regulations or outright bans. The debate remains one of the most emotionally charged in American politics, with protests and legislative battles continuing nationwide. At number 5, we address the issue of racial justice and police reform, which gained significant attention following the death of George Floyd in 2020. Advocates for racial justice highlight systemic inequalities in policing, education, and employment that disproportionately affect minority communities. Calls for police reform include reallocating funding, increasing accountability, and addressing racial biases in law enforcement. Opponents often argue that defunding police departments could lead to increased crime rates and undermine public safety. The divide on this issue reflects broader discussions about race, privilege, and justice in America. At number 4 is income inequality, a growing concern in a nation where the wealth gap continues to widen. Advocates for addressing income inequality point to stagnant wages, rising housing costs, and the concentration of wealth among the top 1% as issues that harm the middle and working classes. Proposals such as increasing the federal minimum wage, implementing wealth taxes, and expanding social programs are championed by progressives. Opponents argue that excessive government intervention stifles economic growth and discourages entrepreneurship. The debate over how to create a fairer economy remains a central issue in American politics. At number 3, we delve into the topic of education policy, particularly debates over school choice, curriculum content, and funding. The push for school choice, including charter schools and voucher programs, is supported by those who believe competition can improve educational outcomes. Critics argue that such policies divert funds from public schools, exacerbating inequalities. Another contentious area is curriculum content, particularly regarding how topics like race, gender, and history are taught. The divide reflects broader cultural wars, with parents, educators, and policymakers clashing over the purpose and priorities of education. At number 2, we examine the issue of LGBTQ+ rights and equality, which has made significant strides in recent decades but remains divisive. The legalization of same-sex marriage in 2015 was a landmark moment, but debates over transgender rights, anti-discrimination laws, and inclusion in schools and workplaces continue. Advocates for LGBTQ+ rights emphasize the importance of equality and representation, while opponents often cite religious or cultural objections. The issue underscores broader tensions about civil rights and societal norms, making it a focal point of political and social discourse. Finally, at number 1, we have the topic of election integrity and voting rights, an issue that has taken center stage in recent years. Debates over voter ID laws, mail-in ballots, and election security reflect deep partisan divides. Supporters of stricter voting regulations argue that they are necessary to prevent fraud and maintain public trust in elections. Critics counter that such measures disproportionately impact marginalized communities and suppress voter turnout. The controversy surrounding the 2020 presidential election and subsequent claims of fraud have further polarized the nation, making election integrity the most divisive political issue in the United States. These political issues highlight the complexities of governing a diverse and dynamic nation. While the divides can seem insurmountable, they also reflect the passion and engagement of the American people. Which issue do you think is the most significant? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more thought-provoking content from Top 10 videos.